Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs, and I'm here with a flip through of my boho gypsy journal, and I actually have two of them that I'm doing flip throughs on, but I'm doing them separately because even though they're a lot alike, they're very, very different because almost all of, if not most of the materials in here are there's a lot of vintage, and so they're one of a kind, so they are very, very different. And the way I'm doing this is they're both reserved, and the person that reserved first gets to pick which one they want, and then the other person gets the other one. So I am doing two flip throughs so they can decide, or she can decide. And I don't really do commissions. I kind of do reserves, and you don't make up your mind until after the flip through, so that's kind of how I do it. If for any reason they decide they don't want them, then I will list it on my Etsy shop as for sale. If it's in there and it marks reserve, that means they just have to purchase it from me, and I give them a little bit of time to make up their mind, and then after that I will open it up for sale if they do change their mind. Anyway, this is it, and it is a very, very chunky journal. I would say 60 to 70% of this journal is removable, so therefore when I started filling this, it was less than half of this size as far as the width, but I want to make sure when I do a journal like this that the person gets their money's worth, so it does have a lot of removable parts in it. It is very eclectic and over the top. That's how I purposely made them. This one is a soft journal, soft covered, material covered journal, and it has upholstery fabric on the outside and upholstery fabric on the inside, but it also has a file folder in between, so it does have a lot of structure. It's 6x9 with a 4-inch spine. Now the spine is kind of flexible, so it's not, you know, stiff, but yet with the file folder it does have structure in it, so it's squishy, and you know, I wouldn't say it fits in your hands too much because it is a big journal. It has 5 signatures with 120 pages, and it's full, and it has a lot of bulky items in it. That's why I made it so big. I wanted to make sure they could all fit in there nicely. It does close, and it's not too much of a gator mouth. It's pretty equal on the sides. So, and like I said, it goes down to 50% of this when you take everything out of it. Okay, so the outside has this upholstery fabric on it. It's beautiful. And then it has this trim. This one has a satin ribbon with lace trim going through it and all the way around it. And then it's sewed on. It has lots of gold trim on it. I've got this beading that goes all the way around it. If you wanted this to lie flat, you could take this beading off here, the back, but I left it on, so that's your option. Goes all the way around the top. The spine, like I said, it's a flexible spine. It does have this lace on the back that covers the signature threads, and in the front you've got this beautiful piece of vintage sari, and it's got this gorgeous, I don't know, branches or whatever that comes down in these little crystals, and it's covering this picture, and this has wax on it to reserve the picture, and then it's got some sari silk underneath it, and this is all vintage, and then it's got this beautiful frame. Okay, and it's got this dangle that I made, and then it's got this came from a Christmas tree ornament thing that I have, and I put that on there. It's got also these are getting tangled, hold on, and they've fallen over. It's got these two boho beads that I made that's bending there, okay? On the side, it's got this removable tassel that has all this beautiful different types of silk and ribbon and all kinds of things. I'll put that to the side. On the bottom, it's got this beautiful cascade of dripping lace and fringe and all kinds of stuff going all the way down. And you've got beaded trim, all kinds of stuff. On the side, you've got, of course, the beautiful closure, but then you've got all these different laces and trims and lots of different tassels coming all the way down the side. Let's see, on the top, you've got all these different tags, you know, sticking out of the top, okay? So that makes for a very busy, interesting journal. Anyway, let me open this up. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put this underneath it so I can balance it out because it is so big. The one thing I do want to show you is that it does open up completely flat. So it's really not that hard to write in. So, you know, but I did include a writing board in this in the back, you know, because there are bumpy surfaces because, like I said, there's a lot going on. But I'm going to go ahead and start from the front. And I'll try and go as fast as I can. I won't pull everything out, but just things of interest. Okay. First off, you've got this vintage sari silk pocket, and it's got this picture in it, and then this tag that I made. Okay, and I'll put that in there. You've also, on the next page, you've got, and of course, you've got your trim hanging down the bottom and laces and things like that. You've got tassels on the side, and some have beads, some don't. This is another piece of vintage sari, and then it has a flip up on there. I did on any of the parts where they have a lot of heavy tassels and things. Those are all put on cardstock. And they're usually in the front of each signature. So that way it could handle the weight. I didn't want to just put it on paper. Okay. This has some vintage sari. This has a journaling card that's been made with a tarot card. And then here's another journaling card. Here is an envelope that was made with napkin, and then it opens up and it's got a journaling card on the inside. I'm not going to go ahead and reopen that. That is in a tuck that was made with a die cut that has all kinds of embossing and things like that on it. You've got a stenciled page here. You've got a vintage music page. You've got a vintage astrological page with a picture here. You've got another journaling card here with some beautiful vintage sari on the bottom. Let's see, this is a vintage sari silk. I did this, I sewed that on a lot of the pages. This is a bag. It's got a vintage receipt in it, I believe. So there we go. I'm not going to open it up all the way. I'll just stick that back in there. I think it's got another little card in there also. You've got some vintage cards in here. There's a vintage picture, a couple of other pictures, and a journaling card and some receipts. The way I look at this, they'd be interested in music and travel and things like that. So they've got a lot of postcards, receipts, things like that in there. Some vintage sari silk there, and all the sari silk is shedding really bad. There's pieces of thread everywhere, even though I've been pulling on them forever. Put this over here. Okay, this is a crystal ball that I made, and then I put this little hand reading card in there. This is the middle of the signature, and I may forget to point it out, but I will. All the signatures have little dangles on them. This has a little card in here. There's a little envelope with the card in it. And that goes right there. Not going to open it up all the way, but I'll put that in there. And then this has a lot of pages in this are done with gesso and texture paste stenciling and stamping. So it has a lot of action, but yet it's light enough that you could certainly journal on them. So it's decorated, but yet, you know, available for writing. This is another one of these die cuts that it has all kinds of different pastes on it, metallic paste and vellum behind it. And then here's a journaling card that was made from papers that were done from my gel plate. And then here you've got some journaling card. You've got another paper bag, and it has a receipt in it. Put that in there. There's lots of places to tuck things in of your own. Like I said, you could remove all of this and start over if you wanted to. A lot of the pages have the stamp lines on it for journaling. There's some vintage sorry there. This is a other half of that astrological card. This is another vintage advertisement. Here's some more stenciling. This is a Tim Holtz pocket. It has a lot of different receipts and journaling cards. I'm not going to pull them all out. It's also got some die cut on the bottom. This is another vintage pocket, and of course it's got lace on the bottom, and of course it's got trim, beaded trim on the side. Then you've got some journaling cards in there. This has a vintage postcard. This is a beautiful piece of vintage sari, and it's got a pocket in front and then a pocket in the back, and of course trim on the bottom. This is a vintage postcard from 1909 that's in the back, and then another journaling card in front. This is a die cut with vellum on it, and then I've got another one of my gel plate tags that I've made, and then there's some other journaling cards in there. This is a authentic vintage postcard from 1907. That goes in there. Again, here's some more of the jelly plate, not jelly plate, embossing with the texture paste and all of that on there. And then another receipt on this one. This is, I made several of these. These are my version of a slide made with vellum and beeswax. It's got a little dangle on there with some vintage sari. There's an envelope with the card in it, and then a receipt behind that. Let's see, this is my stenciled or my doily coffee dyed paper. There's the other side of it. There's another receipt. Not a receipt, advertisement, I'm sorry, of the music. There's another coffee dyed paper. Here's some vellum. Receipt. This is a junk mail envelope that has a picture in it. This is the middle of a signature, and again, you've got some more of your little dangles in there. This is a vellum envelope that has a napkin on it, and in the inside, there's this journaling card. The other half of that vellum, coffee dyed paper. Music advertisement, coffee dyed paper. Let's see, this is just the back of this paper, and of course this has a die cut, and it's got some theater tickets. It's got a picture. It's got another of those journaling cards that was made with the gel plate, and also an inventory card, half of a receipt. This has the gesso. Let me move this out of the way for right now. This has the gesso on the one side with the embossing. This is a piece of vintage sari, or several pieces with some lace being made into a pocket, and then this is a tag that was made. These are vintage pieces of sari, some gold trim. This is a vintage piece of sari with an envelope, and it has some journaling cards. It has a vintage library card in there. In my mind, these journals, the reason that they are so different and the papers are different is that if you were collecting through the years, you wouldn't have everything all matching. It'd be whatever you had on hand. And by the way, the papers that were used on this are Amy Joy Studios, Medieval Mirage, Artie Mays, and then Mrs. Cox. So it is a mixture. I'm not pointing them all out because I wouldn't probably remember which ones are which. But anyway, that's what was used. This has an herbalist card in there. This is also another piece of vintage sari with, of course, I'm not pointing it out all the time, but there's all different kinds of lace and trim that are dripping down the bottom. This is a vintage postcard, some other memorabilia, and a ticket. This is a envelope that I made that goes in here. And inside there is a receipt. So you could certainly journal on the back of that. That goes in there. I think that's all that's in there. And that goes like this. So that fits right here. There's another one of the gesso pages with the embossing. This is from these map pages are from a map from the 1940s, so it's pretty vintage. It's not too brittle though. I think it'll hold up. I did pages like this throughout where it has these frames, and I didn't attach anything to it because I thought the person that gets it may want to do that. So I just kind of put a picture right there. This side is a vintage postcard. Okay, this side has some more vintage sari. And then here is a tag that I made. And I think there's just some receipts in there, a railway receipt, an airline receipt, a hotel receipt. There we go. That goes in there. This has some texture paste and gesso and stamping on it. Again, the vintage advertisement for music for a violin. Some more coffee dyed paper. Again, this is another die cut. A lot of these die cuts I put vellum behind them, and then this has a metallic on it. And I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it has a really cool texture to it. Here is a tag. This is a picture of the family, and then here's another journaling card. And when I did these, I did it so that you could still see the papers behind it when you took the stuff out of it. So I didn't want to cover it all up to where you couldn't see it all. Anyway, that's in there. Another stenciled page. This is my wine dyed coffee, or not coffee dyed, my wine dyed paper. This has vintage sari on it. I used a lot of vintage sari, but it's shredding quite a bit, so I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. The middle of a signature, and then of course these little dangles that are in there. Need that. More stenciled paper. And all of the stenciling is done light enough that you could definitely write over all of it. So I wanted to make sure there's plenty of writing. This is a really cool pocket that was made all out of vintage sari pieces. And then there's this fringe on the bottom, of course, that drips down the bottom. There's some journaling cards in here. Another journaling card. This is a vintage postcard. And then some receipts, an airline receipt, or a boat receipt, and another little card. This has the coffee dyed paper and the banjo advertisement. This is the texture paste with the gesso and the stamping. This is another one of my die cuts with vellum behind it, and it's got all these really cool different journaling cards, some pictures, an airline receipt, all that kind of stuff in there. This is one of my, oh, it's coming off, my little vellum slide that I made. And then there's some receipts in here. Oh, that's a weekly time card. A couple other pictures in there. This is more of the vintage map. This is again the embossed with the stamping and gessoing and inking, and a lot went on those pages. This is a piece of belly band that was made with the different pieces of vintage sari. There's some pictures in there, vintage pictures there, and then here is some paper that was made with my gel plate. Put that in there. This is a vintage piece of sari, of course with lace on the bottom. And then I made this journaling card, and then this is done with papers that was made from my gel plate, and then a receipt in the back. I put that in there. Of course, a lot of these, I don't know if I've been pointing them out or not, they have this beautiful different fringe on. This one has beads on it, and that is really cool. On the other side of it, you've got some more vintage sari with some little dangles. You've got lace trim on the bottom, and then you've got different pieces of got some receipts in there and a railway receipt. You've got an authentic vintage postcard from the 1900s, and then another picture. On this side, you've got a pocket. In there, you've got several pieces of receipts and a layaway tag, a picture, and then you've got an envelope with a journaling card. This side, you've got more embossing, music paper, coffee dyed paper, sari silk. This is a sari silk band. Inside it, you've got a little booklet that gives you lots of room for journaling. It goes right in there. Another stenciled page, some graph paper, coffee dyed paper, again, a piece of vintage sari, and then again, of course, you've got all these different dangles coming out. On this side, you've got some receipts. You've got an old picture, some different airline and trains and buses receipts, coffee dyed paper, some stenciling. This one, you've got, again, a die cut with vellum, and then this really cool picture. You've got some other pictures in there, and a journaling card. Talks about Bohemian. You've got these other cards and a receipt. You've got another one here. And here, I'm going to put this behind here because now it's getting lopsided on this side. You've got this band here that's made of a vintage piece of sari. And you've got a picture. The way I did these 3 boho gypsy journals is that in my mind there were 3 sisters, and each sister had one of these journals and in their possession, and it's basically a journal that was passed on through the ages. That's why, to me, in my mind, it would be whatever they had on hand to decorate it through the years, and it passed through the hands of different people. But these are the 3 sisters that all inherited these journals. Here is a picture in there. Put that in there. Coffee dyed paper. Here is a vellum bag, and it has been decorated with napkin and some flowers, and here's a journaling card that's inside it. Here is music page. This is another page, and I signed it to make sure whoever got it would have that somewhere in the journal. This is another vellum paper slide that I made. This is another vintage piece of sari. Here's some more pictures. Put that back in here. This is another vintage piece. Of course, there's lace trim on that, and then it has the tassels on it. You've got this journaling card that was made from the gel plate, and in front you've got this card from the 1900s. This is authentic postcard. You've got this little dangle that I made that's put on there. On the next side, you've got a flip that was made from a vintage piece of sari, and on top you've got this trim with dangles on it. On this side, you've got another die cut, and underneath it, this picture. You've got this picture that tucks in there, and then you've got another envelope with a little journaling card inside. You've got some texture paste with gesso on here, a vintage map here. On this side, you've got the vintage map again, some vintage sari silk. This is my spray coffee dyed paper. This is music page that I watercolor painted on with gesso on the back. This is a little card or a little flippy thingy. I don't know what you call it really, but it flips open this way. It's got all kinds of journaling and pictures in it. And then it's got this on this side, and then it's got it more on the outside. It's not completely full because I got to where I wasn't filling everything up, but anyway, that's that. And it is put in this section that you have that's made up a snippet roll, a belly band made of a snippet roll that has all this vintage sari silk in it. Put that thing under there again. All right, and then you've got more vintage sari silk, my wine dyed paper, another vintage pocket made with different types of pieces of vintage sari silk. You've got a picture, a ticket, and then this is another journaling card that was made from the gel plate. Put that in there. Another gessoed page. This is made with another piece of vintage sari down there. You've got this beautiful picture here and another journaling card that go in there. This is the middle of the signature. Again, you've got your little dangles there. Let's see, this is vintage sari silk pocket, and you've got a picture, a postcard, and then another old picture. And some more gessoed pages with some stamping. This is another die cut that has vellum behind it, and an altered playing card, and another picture. Put that in there. some wine dyed paper. This is texture paste behind here with gesso and inking and stamping with this picture, this vintage picture in there. Put that over there. This has one of the frames that I made on it, and rather than attach a picture to it, I left it blank so that the person getting this, if they wanted to put something on there, they could. And this is just a music page with gesso in the middle, so you could write on it. On the other side, it was stamped and watercolored. And this is a just a coffee dyed piece of paper that has the stenciling on it. And this is just a page that has vintage sorry, an old map. This is another journaling card. I'm not going to take it out. I'll just leave it. I thought this one was kind of cool, the fortune teller. Little feather on top. On the other side is a pocket made with vintage sorry, and some different journaling cards in there. There's an old postcard, picture, another postcard. This has an old picture. Let's see what else. This is also, of course, another piece of vintage sorry, picture, and postcard in there. Has lace on it, the side and in the bottom. Oh, I didn't show you on the other one. Of course, it had some fringe on the back. Okay, so then on this side, you've got a vintage piece of sorry with some lace trim on the bottom. You've got different types of journaling cards and things in it. A very vintage general merchandise card. And this is a pocket in front and then another pocket behind, so it's two. This is the writing board that I made to go, and it's just decoupage, different pieces of papers on there, and you can use that to put underneath the pages if they're rough or bumpy or whatever. This is the very last page, and this is this beautiful piece of sorry on there with trim, and then it has a couple of journaling cards, and the journaling cards have tarot cards in them. And then this one just has a picture and some little journaling cards with some vintage sorry on it also. And that's pretty much it, guys. That is the journal. Like I said, I believe it's reserved. It'll be in my Etsy shop, marked reserved if it is. If it's not, if they change their mind for any reason, then this journal would be available for purchase, and it won't say reserved on it. So anyway, that's it, guys. That is I'm going to call this one the green Gypsy journal. And so that's it. Thank you for watching. If you want to see how I made a lot of the things in here and the journal itself, I do have a bunch of tutorials on my YouTube channel. Gosh, I would say at least 8 to 10 of them on making my Boho Gypsy journal. So just look under Boho Gypsy journal and it's in that playlist, and they're all out there for free. So we will see you again sometime soon. Thank you very much for watching.